This is the Self Storage Podcast, where we share the knowledge and skills from the industry's leading investors, developers, and operators to help you launch and grow your self-storage business. I'm your host, Scott Meyers, and over the past 16 years, we have acquired, developed, converted, and syndicated over 2 million square feet of self-storage nationwide with the help of my incredible team at selfstorageinvesting.com, who has helped thousands of people achieve greatness in self-storage. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Self Storage Podcast. I am your host, Scott Meyers, and we have back for the second time Mr. Terry Campbell, who is the head of Live Oak's small business lending team, providing capital to the agricultural, funeral home, and cemetery, as well as self-storage and service contractor industries. And Terry, previously, before this, held various roles with the leading self-storage supplier. And then starting as a drafter estimator, he advanced to vice president of sales and marketing and executive vice president of operations. He's a partner in several self-storage facilities across several states, and he served as a managing member and part owner of a large self-storage facility in Northern Virginia in the early 2000s. Terry has also served on the editorial advisory board for the Inside Self Storage magazine and the board of the North Carolina Self Storage Association since its formation. He has been involved in many seminars and webinars offering education to the self-storage industry and is a frequent presenter at industry events and trade shows, as well as a writer for industry publications. So Terry, with that, it's glad to have you back for the second time and catch up.
Oh, thanks for having me, Scott. I'm always glad to be here.
Well, why don't you, if you would, I've got a whole lot of questions here, but I'm just going to turn this over to you. The last time we talked, at least on the podcast, was right after COVID started with regards to the shutdown and what lenders were doing, at that time, at that moment in time, and then the programs that came out afterwards. So if you would, why don't you fill us in from about March on until now, and then I think you've got some updates as far as the SBA and some of the other lending programs that you have that you can fill us in on as well.
Sure. Yeah. Back then when we talked, it was a very anxious time for everybody because nobody knew what was going on. Here's a pandemic and we're being told that you got to shelter in place. You got to stay home. You can't go anywhere. You don't even go into work. You work from home. Hopefully you could work from home, which luckily we were able to. And nobody knew how it was going to affect the economy or individual industries and so forth. And, as we waded through that as a bank, every bank at that point in time was sort of shut down on lending for a brief period because they just didn't know what was going to happen. They had to evaluate their portfolios and see, within those portfolios, what businesses or which loans do we think are going to be okay and which ones we think are going to be bad, because you got to know how many you think may go bad, because that's going to affect how much you can lend. So there was a lot of paralysis there for a while in a lot of banks. Luckily, we didn't have too long of a time at Live Oak that we were kind of doing that. And at the same time that was going on, that's when the PPP rolled out. So basically the whole entire bank was focused on getting PPP money into the hands of folks out there who needed it. And once we got past a certain point, the money never actually ran out the second time, but we kind of ended up doing, thousands and thousands of loans there and helped a lot of folks out. And, it was a great program, did a lot of good. But we also had some enhancements for the SBA that came out. So from the SBA lending side, on new projects and acquisitions and things like that, we started wading back in, got our toes in, went back up to our waist, and then we were in over our head because self-storage started proving itself, just like it did in the great financial crisis, that it's a great business, it's a great industry. It's not really affected that much in a negative way when the economy goes bad. I mean, obviously there would be some tipping point that it would suffer, but it's again proven that it's a great recession resistant business, and everybody in the business pretty much has seen it, and people outside the business have seen it. So that's why everybody's trying to get into it now. So we had some, the CARES Act afforded a few nice benefits for folks who got a loan between March 27th and September 27th of last year. They were able to get 6 months of P&I payments made if you were able to close and fully fund a loan during that time, which is a big deal. And it was a subsidy. Basically, it wasn't added to the end of your loan. It wasn't another, extension of the loan. It was originally it was not to be taxable. Then it was taxable, and just recently it's not taxable. So all in all, you got 6 months of P&I payments made for you by the SBA if you took advantage during that program. So we were to say the least, we were inundated with business. We almost doubled our expected production goal for the year because there was so much activity going on and people taking advantage of that. And historically, we've done mostly new construction, and that almost reversed during this time because to close and fully fund a loan, an acquisition fit the bill. If you close a construction loan, you're not going to fully fund it for quite some time. So we did a lot more acquisitions, helped a lot of folks get into this industry and get into this business and get started off. Number one, they got into a great business, but number two, they got started off on a really good start by having 6 months of their payments made for them. So that allowed them to save money for 6 months, put that back. You can use that to pay down your loan. You can use it to, if something goes sideways in the night, maybe you can use some of it to help buy another facility. But we had a tremendous amount, and the bank as a whole did really well. And we are the largest SBA lender in the country by dollar volume, by a long shot. And we really know it, and we know how to process it and get through and navigate this thing. And that's how we were able to do so much and do so many. And so that ended September 27th. And then after that, we're still kind of busy, still a lot of activity going on in our industry. And now as this latest stimulus package that came out also kind of extended some of those CARES Act benefits. So now between now and September 30th, there's no SBA fees, they're waived. So you don't have that fee, which is a big deal. So it's a really good benefit for you. And the other option is if you close between February 1st and September 30th, you're going to get 6 months of P&I payments up to $9,000 a month. Now, both of these things, I want to go ahead and add in there. There's a caveat. I want to be very clear about this. I don't want everybody just to remember what I just said. I want you to remember this too, is these programs, just like any of the government programs, are subject to change up and down, backwards and forwards. And, it happened last year all through the program. But not just that, and if it runs out of money before September 30th, it's gone. So, if you're going to do an SBA loan, now's the time to do it. And you want to do it before the money's gone. So, the ideal thing right now is an acquisition. So you can close and get it funded and get your money, get it now. If you're doing a construction loan, that could be an issue, once you've fully funded and getting those 6 months of P&I, because the money may be gone. But right now, this is something that's never been done, payments and no fees. It's hard to beat that. It's very hard to beat that, and along with some of the other good things about that loan, as little as 10% down, the 7A, and also no financial covenants. There's just so many great things about this program. And with these enhancements now, if you're ever going to do one, now's the time to do it. It is just unbelievable what they're doing to try to get the economy stimulated. And, hopefully we'll be able to help a lot of people take advantage of this, get into the business, get up and running, get things going, and start a successful self-storage career or expand their self-storage business.
Well, yeah, we have, as you and I talked off camera beforehand, we are making hay while the sun is shining, and this is one of the reasons why it's created a sense of urgency on our end, as well as anybody in the industry, if they're looking to acquire something right now, to do so before that money, as you said, runs out, and again, subject to change. But you heard it here first. Terry Campbell guaranteed that money would be available, and up to, no, just kidding, folks. I have to do that to Terry every once in a while, but there are no guarantees. We know, like any government program, that is subject to change, and yes, do that while the money is available now. But hey Terry, so let's talk about, we went through a refinance process with the SBA, and that was not, I can't say it's 100% successful, and I could say it was 100% painful. Tell me about, I know that you don't do a whole lot of refinances, it's mostly through acquisitions, but tell me the activity level on the refinance front, because there's probably a whole lot of folks that are interested in doing that. What is the SBA's appetite for that, and how has Live Oak been able to navigate through that process?
Well, the most of the activity is somewhere between acquisitions and new construction. There's still a good bit of
Mm-hmm.
new construction that's going on. I talk to the feasibility experts, and they tell me they're as busy as they've ever
Yeah.
been, which
Mm-hmm.
is scary
Mm-hmm.
somewhat. But
Mm-hmm.
two things that have happened: um, Blackstone buying a $1.2 billion portfolio, and Bill Gates getting in the business. It has everybody's antennas up about self storage. So everybody wants to get in the business. Everybody's checking it out, but we're doing acquisitions. Last year, I think we ended up doing probably close to 50-50 acquisitions, new construction. This year, we're probably going to end up, I'm going to guess, doing around the same. But refis, we do very, very few refis with the SBA program. And the reason is the SBA is designed to help you get it off the ground and get, as a springboard and get going. CMBS and certain other conventional lenders that have an appetite for a facility that's up and running, it's got a track record. That's where you're probably going to find the best rates and terms. We can do and have done self storage refis through the SBA, but you just tend to sometimes have better options other than the SBA. So we'll do it. We can do it. We have done it. There's no reason not to do it, except if you're the borrower, you probably can get like a CMBS or something like that, typically with really low rates.
So, Terry, very, very thankful for the relationship that we've had for the past, 12 years now, and for you teaching the sessions at our Self Storage Academy, and taking a look at and preparing folks. What do they need to do to prepare for the loan package and submitting that to Live Oak. Some of the types of things that fit into the SBA box and things that don't. And I know that takes up an hour and a half typically. But if you could just for some folks that haven't gone through the process, perhaps even the loan process to begin with in commercial real estate, but let alone the SBA on a self-storage facility, can you walk through kind of summarizing the things that you look at and the things that need to be in a package, and then maybe some of the gotchas or pitfalls that people need to avoid before they submit?
Sure. Well, one of the things that I'm going to ask first when I talk to somebody is I'm going to, find out about their background. I'm going to find out. I'm going to ask them a lot of questions. I'm going to ask them about, who's going to be the partnership, or is it going to be you by yourself? You're going to have partners? How many? Because we start off with the partnership question as, anybody who's 20% or more owner is going to be a guarantor. And then I go down the list of things, that the SBA says if you're a guarantor on a loan, i.e. you're 20% or more owner, you're going to be a guarantor. So they want to make sure that you have good credit. That's very subjective. Depends on who you ask. What's good credit? We say minimum 650. So we want to see that you have good credit. We also need to make sure that you haven't defaulted on any other government loans. We want to make sure that you're a U.S. citizen or a legal resident alien, and that you're not on probation or parole. And there's one other little thing that not SBA, that Live Oak adds to that is bankruptcies. And quite often, if there's bankruptcies, we may not be able to work around those, so we can talk about them and look into it. But I start off with that conversation and let them know what we're looking for and what kind of qualifies you as a guarantor. And after that, if you're qualified, with those questions, the rest is going to be based on the cash flow of the business. How does it work? So we want to see if it's an existing facility. We want to see rent rolls and management reports, and if they exist, hopefully they exist. And we want to see that along with your projections. We want to see, several years out in a pro forma to see how how the projections are going to work. We're going to see 3 years of your personal tax returns. If you have any other businesses, we want to see those as well. If you have controlling interest, we want to see the tax returns. If not, you want to see K-1s. We're going to see a resume and a business plan. I really always focus on that. The business plan, to me, that's a really big deal, because you don't have the luxury of standing there and talking to the credit officer or the credit committee and presenting your own case. You have to depend on the lender to do that, and you can do that vicariously through the lender by giving them a really, really good business plan. So always do work up a really good business plan. We've had people just send us a couple paragraphs. That's not going to work. That means you're not really vesting yourself. We want to know that you mean business. So give us a really good business plan. We'll want a resume. Then there's documents that are SBA application documents, but those are a highlight and a high level. And if you are and also a personal financial statement, we'll want that. But if you're doing a new construction, we're definitely going to want to see a third party independent feasibility study. And if you don't have one and you want to work with us, let us know, because we'll give you a list of those who we will accept. There's actually a ton of people out there that do feasibility studies that claim to be experts that may have done a couple. And we want some track record and history and evidence that that they know what they're doing. So those are the things that we're going to look for. We're going to ask for. If somebody, do not say anything on any of these forms that is not accurate, because we have to pull certain reports on you, not just a credit report. But if we find out you say that I haven't had, for example, the bankruptcy thing, if you say, no, I've never had a bankruptcy, and you had it 8 years ago, and you think, well, it's 7 years ago, it dropped off my credit report, I don't see it anymore. We run a report that we're going to know everything that's happened to you since you were born, because it will use your social. And if you had one 10 years ago, but you said you didn't, it's automatically considered a character issue. And character issue is one of the number one reasons that a loan goes bad. So, if you lie to us, you're pretty much going to be declined right away.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Fair enough. Fair enough. So let's talk about before we talk about third-party property management companies. I wanted to just have you take a minute or two and talk about a co-guarantor. So let's say that there is a challenge in somebody's past. Their credit score may not be up to snuff. Their liquidity, experience. Tell me what a co-guarantor looks like, and how you allow those folks to come in to get the loan across the finish line.
We want to see that co-guarantor meet those same requirements that I just
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, and hopefully they got a good strong score. Hopefully got good strong liquidity, because like you said, we've had some that are right on the line of
Mm-hmm.
being acceptable or not, or maybe just under that line. But they bring someone who's got some strength, who's got some horsepower, and a
Mm-hmm.
good long credit history, and some liquidity and some post-transactional liquidity as well after the loan.
Mm-hmm.
So bringing someone in like that can really help push the deal over, especially if they've got some transferable experience that's going to help strengthen the deal.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So business plans, obviously very strong, and we tout that as well. And as you said, a couple of paragraphs don't cut it. In our mastery program, we give our students an example of one, which is 30 pages long, to show them exactly what is needed and what they're going to submit to a lender or their private equity folks. And so we never underestimate the power of that, because as you said, that's going to speak for you when you're not in that meeting. And in one of those, the critical pieces is we know that you want to know how this facility is going to be managed, especially if this is their first facility and they don't have a ton of experience, to be able to try to self-manage if it's a larger project. That doesn't seem to always be the best option. So third-party management to ensure that this thing succeeds is another option. But I know that the SBA does look at that a little bit differently. So if you would, talk to the specifics of how the SBA looks at third-party property management companies.
Sure. In 2018, the new SBA SOP came out that made a very slight change in the way that it read as around third-party management. And it said the employees, what they did is add a sentence that said the employees must belong to the borrower. So that knocked a lot of the third parties out, because typically third-party management, they use their own employees. So that kind of threw a monkey wrench in things. The big REITs, Extra Space, Cube Smart, Public Storage, Life Storage, all those guys, they're all great. And at once upon a time, they were eligible if they did certain things and changed their agreement. But after that, they're kind of disqualified. One reason is the employees, but the other reason is that the SBA, we worked with one of the companies in particular, and between them and us and each attorney, we spent lots of money and hours trying to get them approved to be able to manage these facilities. But the SBA said, look, basically, here's the issue. You are managing the facility, you're running the facility, you're operating it under your name. So that creates an affiliation issue. Now the deal is too big. You're too big for an SBA loan, because some of those REITs are just way too big. There are some size limitations, and now that's been breached. So they've kind of been cut out. Now, some of the smaller ones and independent ones, they don't operate under their own flags, or they will operate under the borrower's name. And we've worked with several now at this point to change their agreement and help them to be compliant with what the SBA is expecting. So we work with them to get their agreement to read in a way that's compliant, and it's up to them to operate per that agreement. So we've been able to get several of them compliant, and we're confident if we ever had to go before the SBA and defend that decision that we've done the right thing. So we can introduce some of these third-party management companies that we've worked with to be compliant with our borrowers who need it or want it. So we do have that ability to be able to introduce that. And like I said, sometimes if you've not operated one before, having that could be very helpful. We also introduce a couple. We've got a few folks that do consulting that will help you with a startup package to give you full training on how to actually run the facility and operate the facility.
Well, many of the things that we're doing around here right now is navigating through what we anticipate the environment to be going forward with a new administration. So from your standpoint, Terry, and Live Oak Bank, I wanted to know, what are the things that are on your radar right now, and are you making any adjustments to how you underwrite or putting any different loan stipulations in place? I mean, we've heard that this administration isn't going to be as real estate friendly as the last. Rumblings about 1031 tax deferred exchanges and other items. So just from your standpoint and from Live Oaks, what are you seeing? What are you preparing for that may be coming down the pike right now?
Well, that is one of the things that concerns us, is if they're going to do 1031, allow that or not. But honestly, we have folks in DC that we are communication with all the time. And we're still kind of just waiting to see, because you hear one thing, then you hear another thing, and so we don't know for sure. Some folks are afraid that there's going to be some backlash in the banking industry because of some of the people put in certain positions. And we're just right now, it's just watch and wait and see, and then take appropriate action, because it's still kind of early to know. Although, like you said, we are. I'll speak for myself personally. Concerned about what they're looking at from the real estate standpoint, not just 1031s, but also capital gains taxes. So, from the banking standpoint, we're just watching and waiting right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep, same here, and that's I guess the same concerns that everybody has. But just like any other time, any other administration, we've been at this a long time, and just tell us what the rules are, and we'll learn how to play the game. So.
Yeah.
So let's talk about then, personally, you're investing in self-storage now. You're in the business. I mean, you are absolutely walking the talk and in the trenches each and every day on both sides. What are your plans, and what are you seeing for 2021? If you wouldn't mind sharing even some of your personal goals and your approach to this market.
Sure. Well, I'm a partner now, and my wife and I don't want to leave her out. We're partners in 6 facilities right now. The last partnership deal closed back in December, the end of December. There's always some in the pipeline, because once you do it a couple of times, everybody's bringing deals to you because they know you're for real. I'm not the one that heads it up. I am an investor. I'm involved in it. Look at it. But I'm because I have the full-time job at the bank. I don't want to be distracted from doing what I do here and helping other folks get in the industry. But definitely looking at investing in more. Even looked at potentially buying one straight out, and having it managed. Let my wife sort of run it and have it managed without me in the day-to-day. But still looking at deals. They're still doing great. There's still opportunities that are out there. And I think right now, because of some of the frothiness going on with not knowing what's going to go on with this administration, some people are wanting to jump now before it's too late, which may create some opportunities for those who are looking to buy. So just keeping my eyes and ears open, and looking for those opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Well, Terry, I appreciate that, and we're doing the same here. And again, main thing is, if anybody is in the business of looking to launch or grow their self-storage business, looking at the SBA with the programs that are in place is absolutely a way to be able to do that. But what are you seeing also out there, as you are investing on the private equity side? What are some of the rumblings that you're seeing or hearing other folks that are coming alongside as passive investors, looking at this asset class versus others, holding on to their cash versus getting it into play? We're seeing the up and down of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. So in those circles that you're talking with folks or hearing, what are folks looking to do with their private equity? Are they just sitting on the sidelines, also waiting, or are they jumping in and what they see as the greatest opportunity right now?
I'm seeing both. I'm seeing some folks that have just been dying to, I mean, they're just almost a panic to private equity, just panicking to get into the self-storage industry because they don't want to miss the potential opportunity or don't want to miss the door to close on them. And then again, some is just, it's kind of hanging out, just waiting to see what's happening, waiting to see if there's going to be some distressed properties, not just self-storage, but other ones to be able to put their money in.
Yep, and we're seeing the same thing. Our capital raises, the folks that have always been investing with us, most of them have been. Whenever we have an opportunity that comes up, they are jumping in. A few others are hanging back, and then the ones that are passive, but yet more active, if you will, I think they're hanging back and waiting to see what happens as we get a little further into this economy and perhaps the recession, thinking that there are going to be some opportunities to pick up some low-hanging fruit or some distressed properties and put their money to use in those ways as well. And so we are active on all fronts. I guess at the end of the day, anybody else can be the judge as to what to do with their time and their money, but we see no greater time than right now to be active in the real estate industry with what we're seeing in not only self-storage, but in the financial markets with some of the lowest, lowest price money that we've ever seen. We are absolutely taking advantage of this land grab that we have in front of us right now and excited about 2021. All right, so Terry, at the time this comes out, we'll be a couple weeks away from seeing you and your staff down in Orlando at our academy and our mastermind. So looking forward to that. This will be our first academy that we've had since we went into this COVID shutdown, if you will. We've had two of our mastermind meetings, but now opening up our academies again and looking forward to that. So excited about what you're having to bring. Do you want to give us a peek behind the curtain as to what you're going to be talking about when we come down to the academy?
Oh, we'll be covering all the details of the SBA programs.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about both the 7A and the 504,
Mm-hmm.
all the rules, and like I said, get a little more into the weeds on what the programs look like and what we're looking like. Or
Mm-hmm.
looking for. We'll be
Mm-hmm.
talking about the 5 C's of credit. What we're
Mm-hmm.
looking for in a borrower and some examples, just some good stuff. Like I say, if you're going to be looking to get in the business, and if you can use SBA
Mm-hmm.
with the combination of the rates right now, and also with the combination of these enhancements that the SBA has out now, it's like you're never going to have another opportunity like this, and it should only go up from here. So if you're going to do it, do it. And
Mm-hmm.
as I've said almost every time that I'm at one of the academies, where I say I've done these seminars and webinars and things and seen the same faces 10 or 15
Mm-hmm.
years, and they still
Mm-hmm.
haven't done anything. You got failure to launch. Don't
Mm-hmm.
wait any longer.
Yeah.
Don't tell me, oh, I was going to do this 15 years ago. Do it. Do it now.
Mm-hmm.
There's no
Mm-hmm.
excuse. Find it, build it, whatever. Do a conversion, but take advantage of the opportunity you have. You just got to work and find the right place, and then make it happen.
Yeah. Well, the only question left is, if not now, when? Because there has been no greater time than I've been in the business to be able to get into the self-storage game than right now. So that's the only question that we'll be asking folks. Well, Terry, looking forward to that, and appreciate once again your time here, and looking forward to hearing more about the details when you come down to Orlando. So, hey, any as you're again setting your goals for 2021 and mapping out the year, any books that you have that you picked up along the way to read, or that you're looking to get through this year that you want to share with anyone?
I'll tell you some that I've read recently, and one that I'm in the middle of right now. And actually, I've gotten to where I use Audible. I don't
Yep.
actually read the
Mm-hmm.
books. I do Audible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Tools of Titans
Yep.
is a pretty cool
Mm-hmm.
book.
Mm-hmm.
Atomic Habits.
Mm.
And right now, I'm actually listening to the latest book about Elon Musk. I think it's called
Mm-hmm.
Tesla, SpaceX, and the Quest for Future Success or something like that. But it's a pretty good book as well.
Yeah. Interesting character, and that's one I'm going to have to pick up. I've gotten through Tools of Titans and Atomic Habits. I have not yet, but appreciate that. So I'll get on Elon's book as well. I've kind of stayed along the periphery of watching him. He's quite an eccentric dude, but quite an incredible mind. So I'll make sure that we get that as well.
Yeah, hearing his background is very, very interesting. And I got where he's at.
Without a doubt. All right. Well, Terry, once again, appreciate your time. Tell everyone there, the rest of the gang over at Live Oak, that we appreciate them turning you loose for an hour to hang out with us, and as well as seeing some of them down in Orlando at the Academy and the Mastermind. So with that, good talking to you again, my friend. Take care.
You too, Scott. Thanks a lot. Look forward to it.
All right. Thanks, Terry.
Bye-bye.
Hey gang, wait, 3 things before you leave. First, don't forget to subscribe to the Self Storage Podcast and turn on your notifications so you never miss another episode. And while you're there, please leave us a 5-star review if you like the show. Second, be sure to share your favorite episodes and more via Instagram, and don't forget to tag us. And lastly, head to the links in the show description and hit the follow and subscribe button on Twitter and Facebook to get a front row seat as we grow and scale our business and bring you along with us. Take care.